Okay, 2010 number 3, and we have a TI. So this is a little tricky. It's all about rates and different things like that. Part A, how many people arrive at the ride between 0 and 3? Well, here's the thing. We're being told that, let's see, our given information, people get onto the ride at a rate of 800 people per hour. People are getting into line based on that graph, and so that is also people per hour. So those are both rates. If I want to find out how many people arrive at the ride between 0 and 3, I want to add up all the people that are arriving in line from 0 to 3. So what I'm doing here is I'm integrating my graph from 0 to 3. And what I did, I looked at this graph as a rectangle with a base of 3 and a height of 800. And then I kind of looked at it as I had another rectangle right here with a base of 2 and a height of 200. Watch your scale. And then I broke the other two parts up into a triangle here and then a triangle here. And again, I think that's it's not too hard to do. So again, I've got two rectangles, two triangles, a total of 3,200 people arrive at the ride between 0 and 3. Part B, is the number of people waiting in line to get on the ride increasing or decreasing between 2 and 3, and justify. This gets a little tricky. So people waiting in line, is it increasing or decreasing? Well, things increase or decreasing depending on whether a derivative is positive or negative. So what you need to think about is the rate that people are kind of moving into the line and onto the ride. So what you need to realize that people in line, that's your original. So therefore, the rate of the line are the rates that we are being given. So I need to think about the people getting into the line, and I need to subtract the people that are getting out of the line, which means they're getting onto the ride. If I look at this, the rate at which people are getting into the line is R of t minus 800, which is the rate that people are getting onto the ride. And what you need to realize is that if they're getting on the ride, they're getting out of the line. Now, I'm looking at this between 2 and 3. So I'm looking right at this part of my graph right here. And between 2 and 3, R of t goes from 1,200 to 800. So in between, I'm in this range right here. So this is what I'm looking at. Since R of t is greater than 800 in between 2 and 3, there are more people getting into line than onto the ride. Therefore, the overall effect on the line is that it is increasing, okay? Part C, at what time is the line the longest, and how many people are in line at that time? Justify your answers. So here's what I'm looking at. The line is the longest when its derivative or its rate is 0 or d and e and has a sign change of plus to minus. The line being the longest is a max. Well, what's the rate that the lines are changing? That's our R of t minus 800. So when does that equal 0 or d and e? So I want to know, when does R of t equal 800? And if I look at my graph, R of t is 800 right here when the time is 3 hours. So the line is the longest at t equals 3. The other part of this question, how many people are in line at that time? So there's 700 people in line to start, plus 3,200 people arrive in line, that's from part A, minus people are getting onto the ride at 800 per hour, so it's 800 times 3. So if you add all that up, you have a total of 1,500 people in line, and that's when it's the longest. Finally, write but do not solve an equation involving an integral expression of r whose solution gives the earliest time at which there is no longer a ride. So here's what I want to realize. If there's no longer a ride, then I want the people in line to be 0, okay? Because there's no longer a line to get on the ride. So that means I have to take into account the 700 people, okay? So all 700, plus I'm going to add up all the people that are arriving minus all the people that are getting onto the ride from 0 to t. So that's what I'm looking at here. The other way you can look at this, And these are two different answers. Either one is acceptable. 0 equals 700 plus you're adding up all the people getting into the line minus 800t, which is just the rate at which people are getting onto the ride. That is a constant rate, so you can do that right there. Hopefully all of that makes sense.